The James Show Podcast.
For you kids, my kids start school on Wednesday. Get out of my house. Go get busy. Go do something. But I'll get you all caught up on that. We got a big show. At 3:30, we're talking to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, and I'm going to ask him the question, these people going to go to jail? Are they going to face any charges? Are they going to lose their seats? We'll find out about the fleeing state representatives from the Texas Attorney General coming up in about an hour and a half. And then 4:35, if you're not still with us, you might want to come back because I'm giving away Jason Aldean tickets on Dead or Alive. We're starting today, though, with a flurry of headlines. Can you just hang with me here for a second? Because there's about 4 different things that just happened this morning before the James Show started. Number one, there was a press conference today. Donald Trump was asked and talked at length about his big meeting with Putin this coming Friday. And in this, he was asked, is Zelensky going to be there? Is Zelensky even invited? And he was kind of making a good point. It's like, what do we need Zelensky for? The last 3.5 years, this guy's been failing at coming to peace.
First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. He's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
And what is the definition?
Do you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is. Because there could be many definitions. You're talking about a very large and complex situation. Now, I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, in Armenia was almost as complex as this one, having to do with routes,
trade. Meeting on Friday with Vladimir Putin.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be made.
How will you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Yeah, what an annoying report. How would you know that? I don't know. How do you know when you like your wife? How do you know a sunset's good? You just know. You know within a few minutes. Ladies know within the first 2 minutes of when a date picks them up on what the answer is going to be at the end of the date. And you can only lose permission since you can never gain permission. She already made her mind up. The business world's not too different than that. It's, not as sexy. But you can tell by a person's body language, by their stance on a couple of litmus test issues, by the way they talk, by their language, their facial expressions. You know if a deal's about to happen when you walk into a business room within a couple of minutes. And usually the answer is going to be yes. We just have to work out the right parameters. Donald Trump, also another big headline. He announced that there's a federal takeover of the local D.C. police department, and this is presented to us as a federal takeover of D.C. And so, what all does that mean? Details await here. He's not kicking everyone in the D.C. City Council out of office. He's not vacating all the seats and filling them with his personal political appointees. But the Constitution is actually pretty clear on this one. The federal government runs D.C. He has the power to do, I think, more than he's doing. So, look, first off, let's look at what's the impetus of this. He says crime, blighted properties, just it's a failing city that could do so much better. And so that's sort of the very vague impetus behind this. Here he was today at the same press conference.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
All right, now the prosecutor that's been put over D.C. by the feds, by the Trump administration, Jeanine Pirro, yes, the one from Saturday Night Live, she says her plan of attack is doing something about these D.C. laws that are too weak.
I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest. Intent to kill? I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college.
All right, so that's her tact on it. You heard Trump's explanation. The only other information that we have right now is Trump is deploying the National Guard to D.C., and he says this is all about reducing crime. As I was starting this segment with you, the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, came out, had a press conference. We just paused it. So this happened, 3 minutes ago? Go.
Gives the federal government the ability to intrude on our autonomy in many ways. I've said before, and I'll repeat, that I believe that the president's view of D.C. is shaped by his COVID era experience during his first term.
I'll say racism.
And it is true that those were more challenging times related to some issues. It is also true that we experienced a crime spike post-COVID, but we worked quickly to put laws in place and tactics that got violent offenders off our streets and gave our police officers more tools, which is why we have seen a huge decrease in crime because of those efforts.
All right. We'll leave it there. Because the stat that keeps getting thrown back at this story is that, crime's at like a 30-year low in D.C. Well, crime across all of America peaked in the 90s 30 years ago. And D.C. still has a higher crime rate than many. Trump said Mexico City, Bogota, Colombia, where all the cocaine comes from, where the cartels have summer homes, or their main homes, not even their summer homes. We're doing worse than that in our own nation's capital. And then the next headline, Donald Trump talked a little bit about his new crackdown on Mexican cartels. Now, some of that is going to be happening in Mexico. Some of that's going to be happening on our side of the border. Will Trump's crackdown on Mexican cartels disrupt your life here in North Texas? We don't feel like we're on the border, but we are in a border state, and we're one of the first major metropolitan areas once you cross the border. So it's quite reasonable that some of that could spill over. But in the too long didn't read version of the story here, Donald Trump has announced that he's preparing military operations with the Pentagon against drug cartels. These guys are now designated as terrorist organizations, and that's not just, to say mean things about them. That opens up the possibility of military intervention. If we are in a war on terror that's just sort of open-ending, then anyone declared a terrorist we are at war with, and so we can commit acts of war. Yikes. Words mean something. And this is, when we talk about words mean something, this is a great example of that. When they call the Mexican cartels terrorist organizations, let's see, that opens up mortal military violence against them. Okay. And what do many people say is the number one threat to America right now? Domestic terrorism. Oh, right-wing domestic terrorism. Oh, so when they say that, do they mean it's a green light for military acts of violence against domestic terrorists as well? We're in a war on terror. Should we be able to kill people that we deem domestic terrorists? Because that's a pretty loose definition. Scary games we play with these words, isn't it? But can I be just super cynical and not lose you for a second? Can I just be so negative and pessimistic? Just abnormally, because old Parker here is usually a ray of sunshine. It doesn't matter what we do against these cartels, y'all. We can knock them off. A new one will pop up tomorrow. We can go bomb a whole field full of opium, field of poppies. They'll plant a new one next season. We knocked off Pablo Escobar over 30 years ago. Did Hunter Biden miss a bump? Did it just go to the Cali cartel? Well, then we knocked out the Cali cartel. Well, then where'd it go after that? Now, I appreciate the fact that I can get some good Netflix series out of this. Narcos for the first 3 seasons was amazing. Narcos Mexico is amazing too. We're 2 seasons into that. We've gone through Flaco, Skinny, what was his name? Felix Gallardo. We're about to go to his pilot sort of taking over the operations after Felix gets knocked off. And we've met a young up-and-coming captain in the Juarez Plaza named El Chapo. I wonder if he's going to turn into anything big. This is never going to stop. The war on drugs is not going to stop until either A, we legalize all drugs, or B, Hunter Biden stops liking crack. And I mean that as a metaphor. Junkies, unless all junkies just decide, well, I'm never doing heroin again. Well, then you're fine. If everyone on earth can agree at one time, well, I'm never smoking crack again, then we won't have an issue with cartels. And I'm not saying I'm on the side of the cartels and they're a bunch of good guys and they don't deserve what's coming to them. They're terrible, terrible people. But when you make something illegal, you're turning it over not to the company that gives you the best product or the highest quality product or the cheapest product or the quickest, most convenient product. The market is going to be owned by who is the most corrupt and violent MF in the room. Who can buy off the most amount of politicians and judges and legislators and cops? Who can kill more of the rival gang and the rival cartels guys? It's not going to end. I see a lot of people cheering this. Yeah, this is going to be great. No, it's not. No, a bunch of people are going to get killed for a drug trade that's going to continue in just about the same proportion it will beforehand. We've spent a war on drugs 50 years since Nixon put his hand down or his fist down on the table. War on drugs. We've been taking it serious for 50 years. Drugs are winning. Drugs are in the White House. Hunter Biden left a baggie of Coke in the White House. Drugs won, y'all. Drugs won. If the North Korean army had stormed the borders and they got a platoon that occupied the White House, you would say North Korea's won the war. Well, drugs have won the war. We can keep fighting it if you want. You can not listen to me. And we can just condemn our worst neighborhoods in every major metropolitan area to violence that's inspired and predicated on this mess. Or we can actually embrace the very hard lessons that we learned from Prohibition. And I'm not promising a utopia. I'm not promising if you legalize all drugs that drug use will go away. It won't. It'll probably be about the same as it is now. Again, the lesson we learned from Prohibition. But what will go away? The cartels. There will be no more Pablo Escobar. There'll be no more Pancho. There will be no more El Chapo. But even in our own backyard, there won't be drive-bys at a birthday party over drug turf. There won't be guys that are getting shot in the street over a busted-up drug deal. Okay, don't listen to me. Just keep bombing them, keep cheering it on. It's not going to stop. And I'm sorry to be so negative. I'm usually not so negative. But this is costing us a lot. Think of how many people have had their lives ruined, not just by drugs. Throw on top of that your friend or your cousin or your aunt or whoever that had all the problems being strung out on drugs, trying to stay sober, trying to stay off the sauce, whatever they were on. On top of that, makes it a lot harder if they're in and out of jail. Makes it a lot harder if, you go to jail, you lose your job, you lose your footing, you lose your apartment. Then when you get out of jail, you have to start all over again. So you're doing more harm to the existing drug users with good intentions. I understand the intent of wanting drugs to be illegal. You want people to stop using them. Hey, I do too, but this isn't working. It's only making it worse. It's making it harder for them. It's driving them into a life of crime. And then it's a revolving door. Once you have crimes on your records, all kinds of jobs are shut off to you. All kinds of doors of opportunity are shut. So now you have to deal with that, an even more bleak life while you're battling a drug addiction. And I don't know. I'm hesitant to talk about this topic too much because I know I disagree with everyone or most people who are Democrats and Republicans. And I know neither party's pushing this out there. And I don't even know if there's been a presidential candidate in your lifetime that is saying what I'm saying right now. But I feel like it's the right way to go. I'm not saying this to be sensational. I'm not saying this to get calls. I'm not saying this to get emails or so you don't turn the channel. I genuinely believe all of these drugs should be legal. And if you did that, this problem with the cartels would go away. And so let's look at how my position contrasts. How do you get rid of the cartels? Well, we're going to have to buy a bunch of military equipment, fly over a sovereign country, and start what? Conducting military operations on our peaceful neighbors' territory? Or me who says, let's just expand liberty, expand individual rights, individual freedoms, deregulate the whole damn thing, take off all the restrictions. Which one sounds like a better solution? Because mine will actually get rid of the cartels. The other one will just trade them out for the next cartel. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, updates on redistricting, including interview with Jasmine Crockett over the weekend. You'll hear it all next on The James Show. News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, sports fans. Oh, my goodness. It's almost here. Football's almost back. I don't know, preseason started. I don't count that. Preseason is not real football, but real football is almost here. And listen, if you're a Longhorns fan, I know what you're wondering. Is he on there? Oh, yeah. Your boy's on there. Arch Manning is on there. He has a game coming up in the hardest schedule in all of college football. And it's going to start against OSU. And all you got to decide is this new guy who's about to be a Texas football legend. Is he going to get 240 yards against OSU? More or less? That's all you pick. That's one guy. You pick up a lineup of 2 to 6 guys like that. You submit it, put a little money on it. You can turn the sports you're already watching into some real cash. It really is that easy. Go download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 with your first $5 play. So you use the promo code of this station. When you download the Prize Picks app, it'll ask you for a promo code. Just put in WBAP. And with your first $5 lineup, it'll get you $50 in promo cash that you can play with and turn into some real money. So we've got college football, we got pro football, we've got basketball coming up. We got women's basketball going on right now. And, of course, always baseball. It's still summer. So whatever sports you're into, add a little fun to it with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run your game. You know, a couple of the headlines kind of smushed together. Donald Trump's taken over the police and some of the functions of the District of Columbia because he says that city's just crazy with crime and violence. And also he's launching attacks against the cartels, discussing military operations with the Pentagon against the Mexican cartels, which he's recently deemed to be terrorist organizations. You know what? If you legalize drugs, it would clean up both of those problems quite a bit. It wouldn't get rid of all crime and it wouldn't get rid of all cartels, but 90% of it? Of both of those? Jeepers. It's almost like that would be a good idea that nobody but me and 5 other people support, I guess. 800-288-9227. Al in Azle, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, I got a question. I mean, not a question, but a solution.
Okay.
If they would take the dealers and make it a capital offense and don't put them in prison for 3 or 4 years or 10 or 20 years, go ahead and put them out there. They get 3 appeals and then execute them. And they'd start executing the dealers, and the dealers go up and they start executing the head of the, instead of giving them prison time. What's that do? Hey, can you handle three hots in a cot every damn day with all your medical care taken care of? No, execute them.
So where has that worked?
That works. Hey, look at back in the 1900s, early 1900s. Burglary was a capital offense, and they could hang you on committing a burglary in an inhabited dwelling.
No, I mean,
yes, it worked.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, where has a country that had, you know, in the modern times had drugs, and they're like, well, we're just going to start executing our drug dealers and people there stopped using drugs?
Look at China. They didn't stop using drugs, but what do? They will execute them, and then they will send the cost of the bullet to the family.
Okay. So, kill people that sell drugs. All of them?
If you're a dealer, yes. How many people they killed? How many of our kids have they killed with their fentanyl? How many kids have they killed with their drug overdose?
Yeah, but Al, what about like the kids that are going to a Willie Nelson concert and some college freshman picked up a bag and split it with his friend? Do they both get murdered too?
Well, he's dealing it, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he needs to be charged.
Okay, so you want him killed too?
Yep. Hey, put a bullet in the back of his head and let him go. Bye.
Al's the no-nonsense guy. I disagree, Al, but I see where you stand, and I'm glad you shared it with the rest of the show. All right, just start killing people. I got it. I don't think that's a better, more humane solution. I don't think that makes the world a better place. Who would be left to go to tomorrow's Willie Nelson concert? Skip in Dallas, here on WBAP.
Thank you. My question is, you've got a supply and demand. We have the demand. Mexico's the supplier. If you go to war with Mexico, who's going to be the next supplier? Who's going to be in line? You got to solve our problem. We have the problem. The problem is we have the demand for it. Stop the demand for it.
How? How do you make Hunter Biden not like crack tomorrow?
Slap him in his head.
I'm sure plenty of people have slapped him. They probably paid him to slap him.
Well, you'll never. You got to stop the demand, and you'll stop the supply.
Okay, so how does bombing the cartel stop the demand?
You're not going to bomb the cartel. That's ridiculous.
Okay, cool.
You're bombing a lot of innocent people. That's utterly absurd to go to war with Mexico.
I don't think it's so easy to turn off. I don't
stop the demand.
Look, I don't think it's.
Find somewhere else.
Okay.
To go.
I don't think it's possible to turn off the demand.
There's nobody's buying it.
We can reduce the demand.
You get halfway houses. The drug dealer comes in. You got to put him in jail, rehab, make it work. You've got to solve the problem before you can go after the source.
I don't foresee how does that stop Hunter Biden? How do you stop Hunter Biden from wanting crack tomorrow? All right. Does everyone understand where my shortcoming is on that one? How do you stop Hunter Biden from wanting crack tomorrow? Well, you got to stop the demand. How do you do that? Well, you got to do things. Hunter Biden has all the resources at his disposal for the last 40 years. There's going to be people who do drugs. There's going to be homeless people. There's going to be the bottom of society. We need to stop arranging society and just keep adding rules and restrictions to our own freedom in the hopes that the vagrancies will go away. They're not going to go away. We need to arrange our affairs of state as if these people exist and they're going to continue to exist, and say, how do we deal with this? Other than, well, if we just start bombing the crap out of people in Mexico, that'll stop them. If we just start executing everyone that sells a bag of weed, that'll stop them. We got to get rid of it. You're not going to get rid of the demand. You're not going to get rid of drugs. You're not going to get rid of druggies. We are human beings. We are flawed. Some of us are going to be addicts. And I thought the big lesson from prohibition was the addicts aren't going to go away if you make it even illegaler. Is that a word? 802. Yeah, more illegal. I like illegal or better. This is a weird one. I'm not so sure about this. There was a report on Vice News, and it was highlighting some work done by street preachers there in the Southern Decadence. Southern Decadence Festival is like the gay mecca. It's a big, and I'm not saying that it's pejorative. It's literally like the gay guys decided this is going to be our pilgrimage every year. This is like their Essence Fest or whatever it is. So it brings out, I lived in New Orleans for a little while. So Decadence brings out the street preachers. Mardi Gras brings out the street preachers. Kind of annoying. As a Christian, it's kind of cringe to see that. It's like, oh, people see that and they associate me with these weirdos because they're just yelling terrible things at these people who are trying to enjoy their day. And whether or not I agree with them, their methods are questionable. That being said, Vice had some guy that was just screaming his face off at one of these street preachers. And the internet, being full of the ninjas that it is, tracked it down. And I'm told that this comes from the mayor of Arlington. Okay. I got this story from my next guest, Carlos Tercios from Dallas Express, back on the James Show. How confident are we that this is the Arlington mayor cussing out a street preacher?
Well, I appreciate the invite, James, to your show. We spoke to several sources, and we properly vetted the information that we got before we published. It is 100% the Arlington mayor, Jim Ross. And we did talk to the Christian organization, the street preacher organization that was there at the New Orleans event. And they did confirm that the individual that is blurred in that video is actually Jim Ross. Since we did send pictures of the mayor right now, and they did confirm that is the individual. So it is the mayor, or the Arlington mayor, Jim Ross.
All right. I edited the snot out of this. So, Carlos, this is going to be airtight. Now, some of the words he's saying are FCC compliant. I just beeped them anyway because they're describing something that if there's kids listening, I don't want them to hear. So some of the words that aren't completely bleeped all the way, you can kind of tell what they are. That's because I want the adults to be able to understand this and still not run afoul of the FCC. The actual no-no words are 100% bleeped. But follow along with this.
You do. Not going to happen, you punk. You don't think it's good, do you? No, it's not the purpose. Have you ever your old lady in the... Who would do that? I'll your old lady. In with them.
Watch your language. Hey, shut your ass. Hey, shut your little piece of... You want to tell where you're from. These people are out here having a good time and go in. They don't come to your stupid redneck church and talk. You come out here and shut.
All right, that's pretty rough stuff there, Carlos. What's the mayor's response to this?
Well, we haven't heard back from the mayor. We reached out to the mayor several times, and especially after we interviewed the street preacher organization that was there. We got comments from them, but we have not heard back from, Mayor Jim Ross, despite the fact that Daily Mail, Western Journal, the Daily Wire, and other news outlets are starting to report on this story. And residents, of course, are appalled, as you can read in the article. Several of them are just shocked that this is the mayor and this is how he would behave. But really, the big deal is that this was hidden from the public for many years. And the only reason why we even got this video is because a concerned resident found out that that's actually the mayor. Of Arlington, and it went viral on social media. We actually got 10 million views from across several accounts and Twitter and social media platforms such as Facebook. But people, of course, are asking questions. Why has the mayor responded? He has not responded to this day.
Carlos Tercios, Dallas Express. What is the mayor doing at Southern Decadence Festival anyway? He's heterosexual and it's not illegal or wrong to go to Southern Decadence, but it is questionable if you're supposed to be hetero and if you're there and screaming at street preachers.
Yes, it is questionable, and that's actually one of the questions that one of the individuals from the street preacher organization asked, and that is, why is a heterosexual individual at that event when it's specifically for, gay individuals? And, some, of course, are questioning whether the mayor is a homosexual.
Okay. Carlos Tercios, you've reached out for a response. We just hadn't heard anything yet. What happens if this guy doesn't respond?
Well, if he doesn't respond, he will ultimately have to respond. You can't ignore a story once it reaches the Daily Mail and Daily Wire, and once residents and, elected officials in the county and the local area are responding to this controversy. So he will have to ultimately respond, whether it be in a couple of days from now or in a couple of weeks. He will have to respond, and he's actually up next year.
Interesting stuff.
The James Show Podcast.